Every house remembers something. Every shadow hides something. And some stories were never meant to be found. Welcome to Terror Tales TV.
She told herself this was a fresh start, a new town, a new life, a chance to leave old pain behind. The house had been waiting for her long before she ever arrived. The realtor said the previous family had simply moved away, no details, no explanation. And somehow, nobody in town ever asked what really happened inside these walls. She blamed exhaustion, the long drive, stress. Her mind searched desperately for logic, because accepting what she actually saw was far more terrifying. Someone had locked the basement from the outside, not to keep people out, but to keep something from getting free. The house made noises constantly. Old wood always does. That's what she kept telling herself, over and over, until exhaustion finally dragged her into sleep. "You shouldn't stay here after dark," the old man warned quietly. Then he walked away before Sara could ask what he meant, as if even speaking about the house was dangerous. She appeared in every photograph, no matter the year, no matter the family. Always distant, always watching, always exactly the same. It wasn't a name, it wasn't a signature. It was a warning repeated over generations by people who clearly never escaped what they saw. Children notice things adults refuse to believe. Sometimes that innocence protects them, and sometimes it reveals horrors adults are too afraid to see. People say cold spots are places where the boundary between life and death grows thin. Sara used to laugh at stories like that, before this house taught her otherwise. She stopped breathing and listened carefully as the footsteps moved through the house below her. They never came upstairs, but somehow she knew they were still there, waiting in the dark beneath her. She searched every corner of the house and found nothing alive inside, but the chairs around the table told a different story, as if something had gathered there while she slept. The disappearances stretched back decades, different names, different families, but always the same house, and always the same ending. She never opened the basement that night. Somewhere deep inside, she feared that if she opened the door, whatever was waiting below would believe it had finally been invited inside her life. She was no longer imagining things. The house was watching her now, and whatever lived inside it had been waiting patiently for her to notice. Most people would have run after seeing something like that, but Sara needed answers more than safety. Curiosity can become dangerous inside places like this. Someone before her had discovered the truth hidden inside these walls, and judging by the desperate writing covering the plaster, they had been terrified by what they found. Photographs are not supposed to change, yet the woman in the picture had moved closer somehow, as though the house itself wanted Sara to notice her. Edna finally spoke the woman's name aloud. Maren, a grieving mother who died inside the house more than a century ago, but never truly left it behind. One by one, disease stole her family from her until grief consumed everything inside her. And somewhere in that unbearable pain, something dark answered her sorrow. Maren performed a ritual that tied her soul to the house forever. She was no longer haunting the home. She had become part of it. Every family connected to the house vanished eventually. No bodies, no struggle, just empty rooms and silence. The ghost no longer hid itself completely. Once Sara understood the truth, Maren wanted to be seen. She tried every road leading out of town, but every path somehow brought her back to the same place. The house had already decided she belonged there. Sara remembered none of those calls, yet her own voice had been reaching out for help while something inside her slowly surrendered to the house. The walls were not decorated with flowers at all. Every pattern hid a face. Every face belonged to someone the house had already taken. Sara did not scream when she finally saw the ghost clearly. Fear had already moved beyond panic and settled into something colder, acceptance. What terrified Sara most was not the message itself, but the tenderness behind it. Maren truly believed she was offering comfort. The moment Edna shared too much about the house, she vanished completely, and deep down, Sara already knew why. Edna's final note repeated only one sentence. The only way out is through. Now, Sara finally understood what she had to do. Standing at the top of those stairs, Sara realized courage and desperation often look exactly the same. This was not a monsters collection. It was something sadder, the desperate attempt of a grieving soul trying to keep every family she ever lost. She had been chosen long before moving into the house. Somehow, Maren had already been waiting specifically for her. The voices surrounding Sara sounded neither welcoming nor hostile. In this house, warning and invitation had become the same thing. Maren had never intended to become something monstrous. She had only refused to let go of the people she loved most. The house itself was alive now. Every wall held Maren's sorrow. Every room carried her memories like veins beneath old skin. They were not screaming or suffering anymore. They simply existed here, frozen forever inside someone else's grief. Make her remember the real loss, the note explained. Fear would never stop Maren. Only truth could. For the first time, Sara saw who Maren had once been before grief hollowed her into something unrecognizable. Maren no longer hid in shadows because she believed Sara finally understood her. And understanding is how hauntings become attachments. She told Maren the truth gently, that love becomes something terrible when it refuses to let the dead rest. For one brief moment, the ghost remembered what she had truly lost, and guilt finally reached her after more than a century. As Maren finally confronted the truth, the house itself began falling apart around her. They had not been waiting for rescue. They had been waiting for someone brave enough to help Maren finally let go. For the first time in over 100 years, she no longer looked like a ghost. She looked like a grieving mother ready to rest. There was no violence, no screaming, just silence, and the slow disappearance of a sorrow that had lasted too long. For the first time in generations, the house no longer felt alive. It was finally just wood, stone, and silence. The trapped souls had disappeared along with Maren's grief. Nothing remained except an old house slowly returning to ordinary. Evil had never truly lived here, only loneliness. Stretched so far, it eventually became something dangerous. The house no longer trapped her. The road beyond the yard was finally just a road again. Even the old neighbor could feel the difference immediately. The heaviness hanging over the property had finally disappeared. Someone in every generation had quietly watched the house from a distance, waiting for the haunting to end. The letter described Maren not as evil, but as the saddest soul the writer had ever encountered. Some grief does not need fixing or hiding. Sometimes it only needs someone willing to acknowledge it existed. She expected relief looking into that empty mirror. Instead, what she felt most strongly was loss. She arrived searching for a new beginning and left carrying someone else's sorrow with her forever. She kept her eyes fixed forward because some places are easier to survive once you stop looking back at them. Maybe the nightmare truly ended here, or maybe old houses simply learn how to sleep for a while. Before grief consumed her, Maren had simply been a mother enjoying an ordinary afternoon she believed would last forever. Some stories truly end, and others merely wait for someone new to open the door. If you enjoyed this nightmare, subscribe to Terror Tales TV for more terrifying stories, haunted legends, and cinematic horror that stays with you long after the video ends. And remember, some doors should never be opened